This is Vivek Ramaswamy, a leading presidential US candidate, and what he'd say he'd do to crypto if he was elected will shock you.
You become president of the United States. What changes from a crypto perspective?
I think what changes is that regulation by enforcement ends.
BlackRock officially files for a spot Ethereum ETF. The Philippines government officially tokenizes 179 million worth of their treasury bonds. That and much more, let's get into it. This video is not financial advice, read disclaimers on the screen. Starting off with the latest Vivek Ramaswamy interview where he rolls out his 3 freedoms of crypto policy framework, which I think is absolutely immaculate. If he does become presidency and he does roll this out, it will be a fantastic thing for the space.
This new crypto framework is out. I got to ask you, if you become president of the United States, what changes from a crypto perspective?
I think what changes is that regulation by enforcement ends. What does that mean? That the rules are delineated clearly in advance rather than you having to wait for an enforcement action for the SEC to figure out whether or not a given coin was a security or not, that Gary Gensler refuses to say today, for example, about Ethereum. What also changes is that any unconstitutional regulation, not just as it affects crypto, this is part of a broader administrative state reform for me, but any regulation that Congress did not expressly give an agency the power to pass is null and void. It turns out that applies to most regulations governing the crypto industry. And I put these into 3 categories for the areas of reform that I've laid out. One is the freedom to code. It's my view that code is speech. And while it's perfectly appropriate for the government to go after bad actors, if you take the Tornado Cash example, going upstream for the actual developers of the code, that's wrong. You got to draw the distinction between the code itself, which is protected, versus people who misuse it to steal. That's something that's not happening today. That's freedom of speech is principle number 1. It's the freedom to code. Principle number 2 is financial self-reliance. I'll give you the punchline here. There's a lot that's behind it. I mean, the AML statutes, the know your customer stuff, a lot of this, the Bank Secrecy Act has been weaponized. But the punchline is self-hosted wallets should not be touched. I mean, that's part of the Jeffersonian, Jacksonian vision of financial self-reliance and independence. We can't have a regulatory apparatus that effectively creates self-hosted wallets and prevents them from actually being able to exist. So that's point number 2. And then point number 3 is just the freedom to innovate. And I say this as somebody who comes from multiple different regulated industries in the past. The wet blanket on American innovation isn't even Congress. It's the regulatory state that's making up its own rules regardless of the laws that actually exist in this country. And so we'll rescind all of those unconstitutional federal regulations. We'll downsize the federal employee headcount by 75%, which I think is a good thing. A lot of these toxic regulation and enforcement action come from the fact that if you have a bunch of people showing up to work who shouldn't have had that job in the first place, they find things to do. We'll put an end to that. And the good news about all of this is these are things I can get done as the US president without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness, because this relates to the executive branch of the government.
Claim up to $30,000 by signing up to the best cryptocurrency exchange right now using the link below. You can do anything you want with this 30K, you can trade with it, you can invest with it, and it's a pretty decent way to set yourself up for the potential coming bull market. So if you click the link in the description down below, it will bring you to this page right here where you can sign up and take a look at all the bonuses they are offering. If you can't get the 30K one, there's also a bunch of smaller bonuses you can go for. And not only that, I'll also send you a free airdrop strategy guide for all the airdrops I plan on farming and making 6 figures on, if and only if you sign up to Bybit using my link. BlackRock is officially filing for a spot to Bitcoin ETF with the SEC as they filed their S1 form. The Ethereum ETF, dubbed the iShares Ethereum Trust, aims to reflect general performance of the price of Ethereum, and the trust has appointed Coinbase as the custodian for the underlying Ethereum. The move by BlackRock comes nearly a week after it registered the iShares Ethereum Trust in Delaware, and I did make a video about this, and I did tell you about the fact that they did the same thing with Bitcoin and it led to a Bitcoin spot ETF application. So them registering a trust for any other altcoins could be a strong sign that they're eventually going to file an ETF for that specific coin. Filing for a spot ETF is a 2-step process where the ETF issuer must get SEC approval from the Trading and Markets Division on its 19B4 filing and the Corporate Finance Division on its S1 filing or prospectus. So yeah, they filed this S1 filing right here. Now, knowing the SEC, I wouldn't be too surprised if this takes a while to get approved, but either way, BlackRock is officially filing for a spot Ethereum ETF. Do you think they're going to start going for other altcoins now to get ETFs of? Just in the world's third largest pension fund, South Korea's National Pension Service purchases $20 million worth of Coinbase shares. Philippines is set to sell 179 million in tokenized treasury bonds for the first time. So the Philippines Bureau of Treasury announced it would offer 10 billion pesos, or just about 179 million dollars, of 1-year tokenized treasury bonds for the first time after cancelling the traditional auction scheduled for November the 20th. And they'll offer these tokenized bonds to institutional buyers. When asked whether the government is exploring continuous use of tokenized real-world assets and bonds, the deputy treasurer said it will continue to study the technology and test how far they can take it. Many people in the TradFi sector aren't specifically excited about cryptocurrencies. They seem to be more excited about tokenization and the benefits that blockchain technology can give to tokenized assets. So we are now starting to see governments of pretty decently sized countries starting to tokenize their assets. And this is massive. I mean, if you think about the entire world and just how many assets there are in general that could potentially be tokenized, you know, that's in the trillions, tens of trillions, maybe even 100 trillion plus. 3 Arrows Capital co-founder Kyle Davies has been spotted in Bali, according to sources from Cointelegraph. Now, Kyle Davis has reportedly been seen in Bali as he continues to evade authorities over the collapse of the defunct hedge fund. The witness claims that Davies looked alive, well, and happy and attempted to conceal his visage once he suspected he may have been recognized. Now, there have been some images shared with Cointelegraph that have been withheld from publication, but yeah, apparently they bear a stark resemblance to Davies. Now, right now, the other co-founder of 3 Arrows Capital, Su Zhu, has been arrested in Singapore as of September the 29th as he tried to flee the country. So yeah, Kyle Davis seems to be potentially avoiding charges right now, being in different countries. Is he going to be able to stay away from getting caught like Su Zhu? We'll just have to wait and see. Hit subscribe with the notification turned on right now if you want to stay up to date with everything happening in crypto in case you forgot, and I'll see you tomorrow. This video is not financial advice. Read disclaimers on the screen.